Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. Roger Abel here with Elias Randall. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm good. We've got Halloween behind us, Thanksgiving, and Christmas coming. I can't even believe we're that far into this year. With Christmas coming around the corner, I think it's always good to start to talk to people about gift giving and how to plan for it. I actually had an individual in the other day, and they were asking what they should do and how they should do it. And I told them, I said, well, you have 2 months, so start saving up now. But some people are trying to simplify the gift giving process, I guess. I'm sure most families at some point in time, it's gotten a little out of hand. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, but I brought the video into my basement, and my daughters must have been like 5 and 3, and it was a little out of hand. And since then, we've simplified our gift giving. What do you guys do? Do you guys try to give big gifts, small gifts, vacations? And I'm sure it changes for people like over time, but what do you guys do?
It's a combination of all of those things. So my kids will get gifts from all of their grandparents and from us. And then my mom likes to take them out for some sort of, like they're going to Rudolph this year. It's a play. So a lot of times we'll do an event.
Did you go to last year to the Rudolph Quad Cities?
No, I don't think so. We've done the Disney on Ice before. She usually does something like that.
Disney on Ice is
they all
actually
blend
good
together, and I don't remember which.
So do you have that?
Disney on Ice is entertaining, and I do like all the Disney characters.
Do you have that innate ability like I do to sit there for 2 hours but not actually know what really happened because you completely zone it out?
While I'm watching the show?
Yeah.
I'll watch and enjoy it.
Or like movies. I mean, so there's movies my kids have watched 24 times with me sitting there. I have no idea. I just completely zone it out.
I'm not a big movie watcher, so that's not really.
Why did I ask? I know you don't watch
a whole lot of movies. And this year, the big thing at our house, the older two really like and have gotten into Pokemon trading cards. So we'll probably do, and video games. We started playing video games at our house this year, which is awesome.
Was it your idea or your wife's?
No. Actually, my brother-in-law gave us. We started with an old PlayStation 2, with a few games. He gave that to us, and then we got a Nintendo Switch. So we've been playing that. And then I was in Target the other day, and I saw the Meta,
the headset,
the Oculus or whatever it's called. Yeah, where you put the headset on, and then there's a Batman game they advertise with it. So I don't know if we're going to do that, but that's on the table for a nice Christmas gift that we can all enjoy together.
My daughter was asking for that last year. That might be on the docket this year. But one of the things,
pretty awesome.
One of the things I've noticed, though, like friends of ours, the older they get, the more it becomes about experiences and less about the gifts. Like starting to do family trips and things like that. And I think you'll appreciate this as a father of young kids. Those toys you get are good for about a month. And after that, they're going to be given away. How many garbage bags of stuff?
They're good for about 30 minutes.
Yeah. So we've always talked a lot about, a good gift for kids, grandkids. If you're a grandparent, donate to the 529 plan. Buy them a gift too. Put a little money in there for something they could have in the future, and just think what a couple $100 gift every year grows into, and you start to add compound interest and all the different things. I think one of the more concerning things, and I'm concerned about it this year probably more than most, is that there's still 46% of Americans are still paying off their debt from last Christmas, and they're going to go into debt again. 34%, half are still paying off debt from last year, and 34% of Americans that went into debt last year went into debt for over $1,000.
So here's when it comes to Christmas, this is something I think everyone should do. The sinking fund is a really good idea for Christmas because you know about what you're going to spend, and then you just systematically save it We do weekly stuff.
It's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I can't, for whatever reason, I've never been able to do the budget for the whole month. But what I can do is I can do it week by week. So everything's weekly. There's into the savings account, X amount of dollars goes every Friday, and that's earmarked for holiday spending. It's a great way to do it. It's a really great way to avoid having to use a credit card and not being able to pay it off. And then I can't believe almost half the people are carrying debt.
Well, and
from the last Christmas. That's the gift that keeps on giving right there.
Well, think about it. The older we get, the more Christmas is really just about being around family and having fun and all those experiences.
And building toys. Don't forget that part.
Yeah.
Building one toys. By one, they get open. And then I just like to enjoy my coffee and sit there. Next thing you know, I got to go get my tool belt. And I got to get the instruction booklet out on how to build the toy that they just got.
It's awesome.
I love doing that.
We just take vacation. But think about this. Do you guys still exchange gifts between like your brothers and sisters and moms and dads and stuff?
On my wife's side, my in-laws, yes, we do that. On my side of the family, we will do a Christmas event. Our family's always been events around holidays. So we'll go out for a nice dinner, go to a show. A lot of times we'll go to a comedian. We've been to a magician before, comedians, usually one of those. We don't really go to live music together as a family. But
so we've gravitated completely away from exchanging gifts between siblings and the older adults. And I think, that's always a hard conversation to have because I think parents inherently want to give their kids stuff. But then you're like, we don't need all this stuff. And honestly, sometimes you get it and you're like, great, now I have to return it. And it becomes a hassle, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I thought, a good time to bring this up, if you're one of these families where you're just kind of exchanging gifts to go through the motions, because that's what you've always done, Thanksgiving's coming up. Sit down and have a talk. What do we want to do? Do we want to spend our whole day and all this money on these gifts? Or how about we concentrate it on the kids? So we, in our family, we exchange gifts with all the kids. We make it all about the kids and the adults. Well, we don't really need a gift. So we have a nice dinner and all that stuff. But if this is what you want to do and you're trying to get away from it, the good time to talk about it's not a week before Christmas. Sit down when everybody's together and just have a discussion. Hey, do we want to keep doing it this way or do something different? And it's always a good idea to just be proactive about it.
So this year at Thanksgiving, I'm just going to tell everyone, I'm not doing gifts this year. Don't expect any gifts from me.
Well, I don't know if I'd approach it.
That'll be the conversation.
I don't know if I'd approach it that way.
Oh, you wouldn't?
I don't think so. But I don't know. I had and it just got me thinking because I had that client in the other day talking about Christmas, and the gist of it was she's actually paying off some debt. And she goes, well, I know I spent $1,200 for Christmas. I've got $200 saved. Do you think I should keep hammering the debt? I'm like, well, are you just going to put the rest of Christmas on a credit card? She goes, probably. I said, well, I can just save up the money then. The next 2 months, one half dozen the other. You know what I mean? Like she needed another $1,000. I'm like, we'll just slow down the debt, save the money because you're going to put it on the credit card anyway. It's totally irrelevant. But
unless you're going to skip Christmas, but you're not going to do that. No one's going to just skip Christmas.
You could.
Yeah, that'll go over like me telling everyone at Thanksgiving, hey, don't expect a gift from me this year. I'm not doing those anymore.
Yeah, you know what, too? If you're going to do gifts, I think the other thing about it, we're such a society of how fast can I get things done? The gifts aren't personalized anymore. You know what I mean? Like, my wife
Everyone has everything they want.
Right. And my wife and I, we exchange gifts, but you know what we do? We try to buy each other things that we wouldn't buy for ourselves. Because we all have things that we won't just go buy, whether it's out of like cost or, for example, my wife, I was carrying the same briefcase or, bag for 15 years. Drove my wife crazy. She knew I wasn't going to buy a new one because I didn't really care that much. So for Father's Day, I got a really nice bag, one that I never would have bought for myself. Like, that was a good gift, something I wouldn't buy.
That's a very nice, thoughtful gift.
And I think it made her feel better because she didn't see me with the tattered bag that, frankly, I enjoyed because it fit all my stuff.
And it's been around a while.
Those
You're used
unique
to it.
gifts. Anymore, I feel like we're this like we're just a card society. Oh yeah, here's a gift card.
Which I'm good with. You can get me a card and throw some scratch off tickets in there.
Actually,
I'm having a good time.
That's the way. Scratch off tickets. Have you ever done? Okay. We played the trick of my wife's uncle one year, the scratch off ticket where they win like $10 million. You
And
can
it's
buy fake scratch off.
You did that to someone?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
Wait,
did.
I'm doing that this year.
It was. He's like, because he's like a huge gambler. He never doesn't gamble big money. He plays the penny slots. It's his form of entertainment. We gave him the fake scratch off ticket one year. Oh yeah,
I want to do that now.
You totally should do it.
Wait, how did he respond? You guys ruined his holiday.
No, he deserved it. We didn't ruin it. It was awesome. That was a long, long time ago. But, don't sacrifice your financial security to go in debt for the holidays. There's still 2 months to kind of get it into perspective and figure out how to be really intentional with the gifts you give. And I think that's really like anything, being intentional with your money is important, whether it's investing or buying gifts or real estate or debt. The more intentional you are, the better you typically are with money. And would you agree that the older you get in retirement, the more intentional you probably need to be?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if you make a mistake, you're in trouble.
You're relying on your assets and whatever you have for income. So you do have to be more intentional because no one retires and then wants to go back to work. So really, well, I got $15,000 in debt. I'm going to go get a part-time job. Retired folks aren't doing that. They don't want to anyway.
Did you happen to see the new T. Rowe Price survey? They surveyed a bunch of retirees that were rolling over 401k balances.
I have not seen it.
So T. Rowe Price, which is a large mutual fund institution, surveyed retirees who had 401k balances or rollover IRAs about how much they thought they could live on.
I'm guessing that number was less than it should be.
Yeah, so T. Rowe Price came out. If you think about how we do planning, Elias, we do goals-based planning. We don't just say, well, you get X amount of what you made. That was that way for a long time. But their survey came out and said you can live happily in retirement with just 66% of your work income.
Who said that?
That was the T. Rowe Price study. Found that you could live on way less than what you actually made when you're living or when you were working. And I'm trying to figure it out because
there's some truth to it because it's a survey conducted. I don't know that's what we're experiencing, but
well, let's think about this. So most people have a budget of some kind, whether they know they have a budget or not, they have a budget, right? Some people write it. Some people just inherently, hey, I make X amount a month at my job. I know what my bills are. It's less than what I make. That's a budget too. I would venture to guess there's very few people out there that if they're utilizing a $5,000 a month budget today, let's say, or let's call it $10,000 a month, $10,000 a month budget, because I need some round numbers to work with. I don't want to work my brain that hard today. $10,000 a month budget. And I said, tomorrow you get $6,600. I don't think they're going to feel comfortable with that.
No, that's not going to check out.
And
that doesn't check out.
And while maybe they could do it, why would they want to do it?
Yeah, here's probably the disconnect because I'm looking at this survey a little bit. This number is on average, so I guess it probably wouldn't surprise me if on average that's what it works out to be. I think what I would share with the listeners and what we're getting at is when you're doing goals-based planning and you're someone that likes to live a nice lifestyle, if you start to expect 66% of your income, that's not necessarily reality, and that's probably not what you're going to have to do. I mean, we have plenty of clients. They're spending more money than what they spent when they were working.
They did a great job saving. Now they can. And
Right.
they won't do that forever, but they're going to do it for 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, right. Certainly at the beginning. So I could see that being, well, and most people don't. The other thing is everyone we work with has been a good saver for a long time if they're retired and have money here. Most people, they retire and what they have is their Social Security check.
So here's what it makes me think.
So these numbers
about.
are probably skewed.
So let's think about this for a minute. Just a question. Do you think different mutual fund companies have different demographics of clients?
Yes.
You think so? Like, do you think T. Rowe, like, I'm just saying, and I don't know. Is it like maybe T. Rowe Price has a higher average account balance? I don't know. I'm just throwing that question out there because that could potentially skew results. And here's why I say it. If you have a individual family that saved $2 to $4 million, right, in IRAs and retirement accounts, yeah, they probably don't need as much as they made. They might have been making $200,000 a year, right? Because to get to 3 or 4 million, you're going to have household income is not 80 grand typically, unless you started really early. Your household income is probably closer to 200 to 300. Well, yeah, they probably don't need $14,000 a month to live on. They'll probably be okay with less because everything's paid for. But if your household income was $80,000 and you got yourself $700,000 saved up, you're going from 80,000 to 48. Like there's, you know what I mean? There's this like an equilibrium that just meets your basic living. So
Yes.
that's why I just wonder, hey, is there, if we look demographically at people at T. Rowe Price and Fidelity and Vanguard and BlackRock, are they different? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I would assume the more clients they have, the more it would represent overall population. Because like a company like Fidelity that has millions of accounts, they're going to be able to get a good grasp on what the average is.
And
but it's probably not a good reflection. The average is not going to be a good reflection of people that are independently wealthy.
Well, yeah, here's a good example, Elias. Yeah, if I was making $500,000, if that was my household income, I was making $500,000. Yep, I'd be okay on 300. You're right. I could live really comfortably still. That's why I'm asking the demographics of the people, because hey, if you were making 50,000 household income,
yeah, you can't.
I'm not
go
sure
down
you're living comfortably. You can't go down
66%.
60. You can't go down a third. So I think that's where you have to look at these surveys and look behind the lens a little bit, and then ask yourself, why would I want to live on 33% less? I mean, part of retirement is getting the most out of it, and people don't understand that when they retire at 65 and they start taking a distribution, and let's say they're taking $5,000 a month, in 15 years when they're still taking $5,000 a month, they're really spending less money.
Yeah, it's not adjusted for inflation.
Got it. Inflation's eating into it. So if you ask them, are you spending more or less? Like, oh, I'm spending the same. No, you're really not. You're spending less money if you keep your distribution the same. And that's the reality of how people spend money in retirement. That's how it works. Most people set up the ACH, they live on what they get, and they don't increase. They'll take a one-timer. Hey, I need 10 grand to go do this. But most of the time, well, I've never had somebody come in here every year and say, well, I was taking 5,000. Inflation this year is 3.8%. So I need $5,158 a month. And then the next year they come back and be like, oh, inflation was 5. I need another 250. It's not how it works. It's just not the reality of how people take money out. They take it when they need it.
Yeah, and it's probably more reflected in their off-schedule distributions because those are typically bigger purchases or a bigger vacation, right? So the vacation that was $10,000 a few years ago is what, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000. Now that's probably I would say the off schedule distributions probably get larger over time, but the every month withdrawals that people are doing, very few people change over time. And it's not annually. It'll be 5-6 years goes by. Hey, things are a little bit more expensive now. I'm going to do another $500 a month. But that's not adjusted for inflation because that's not near what it's been. But
okay, so you mentioned vacations, and we're doing a vacation with the kids. We're doing Disney. They don't know it. That's Christmas this year because we're not doing the whole gift thing. We're leaving.
You better take your credit card if you're going to Disney.
Oh, just wait. So we leave on New Year's Eve. Today, Disney rolled out some new premium Fastpass. So for the people who don't know what this is, it's how you like skip in line. You don't have to give them a time. You just tell them the 3 rides you want to go on. As soon as one's done, you tell them the next ride. You just basically cut right in line. The pass is priced per park, per person, and then the pricing changes depending upon the day of the week. How much do you think?
Premium Fastpass? Can you tell me at least what a regular Fastpass costs? It's been a while since I've been.
Let's just say, well, I don't even know what it used to be, but here's what it is today. You won't even believe this.
Wait, which one?
The premium Fastpass. I don't know what the regular Fastpass is. I'm sure it's $150 a person or whatever.
This is at least. It's
Elias.
It's 100% more.
So Megan was on the phone with me yesterday, and per person per day, $159 to like $469 per person per day.
$300 more.
Well, yeah, but dude, let's call it $400 a person. Times 3 is $1,200. Times 7 days. But
there you go.
Here's how things are getting more expensive. They're giving the option, hey, you don't have to do it. Anybody who's ever been to Disney, if you don't have a fast pass, it's horrible. You get like 2 hours. Now, it's different every single day, but my wife usually wants a convenience. She drew the line. She's like, yeah, we're not doing that. Because it's bonkers.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that's a discretionary item that like only certain people are going to be willing to spend that extra money. Certainly when we're in an economy that people are unsure about.
Well, that's what I, so that's what I was getting to.
2021, everyone would be buying the premium Fast Pass, but it's different now.
I mean, I can afford the fast. We can afford it, but I'm like, why? Wow. I'll do the regular Fast Pass and give them a time that'll show up. That's the only difference.
Dude, that's a lot for that.
And people don't realize you don't get to do like 15 rides a day at these places. It takes too long to walk everywhere. It takes too long to do the ride, too long to stand in line. You just don't get to. But I just thought it was interesting because you brought up travel and how it got more expensive. It just got me on a side tangent. But I think a good question, if you're not a retiree and you're listening to this show, because, we kind of focused on, hey, retirement. How much do you think it takes to really retire now? Like if you're 35, how much do you think a person really needs? I mean, clearly it's based upon your income. And I'm just getting to, there's a little survey down on CNBC. Only about 50% of the people think they can meet their retirement goals. And 35% say they'll need over $1 million to retire comfortably. I think it depends upon your lifestyle.
It's going to be more. It's going to be more than that. I mean, I'm 35. I'll be 36 this year. And another 20 to 30 years, it's going to require way more than it does now.
Here's what everybody should do. Because $1 million today is not $1 million in 30 years. Rule of 72, if you take 72 divided by the inflation rate, that's how much money, how many years it'll take for your money or spending power to be cut in half. So if inflation's 3%, what, 24 years, your million's really 500. So if you're 40 years old saying, hey, I need $1 million, you actually should be thinking in the back of your mind, can I make it on 500? Because that's really what it's going to be worth if you get to $1 million.
Or try and figure out how to get to 2 or 3 or 4.
You're gonna but I don't think people think that way. That's how they think. They think in today's terms, oh, I'm going to have $1 million. Right? You do a Morningstar, you show them what S&P 500 did the last 25 years, like, oh man, that's 1.8 million. Have you ever actually
think about $1 million? Like when you think about $1 million today compared to 40 years ago. Well, in another 40 years, I mean, it's always going to be a big number, but it's not going to get you near what it gets you now.
Well, $1 million today is probably the equivalent. $1 million 40 years ago is the equivalent of $8 million today.
Yeah, like if you had $1 million in the 80s, you're vastly wealthier than you are now with $1 million.
Kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, made 52 million, yachts.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I think how he was living life on 52 million or whatever he had, I don't think you could do what he was doing then today.
No.
But I think it's a good reflection for people. Hey, how much do I really need? And the reason I bring it up is I think people are giving themselves this false sense of reality as to what they need. They're like, oh, they're sitting back right now and they're 40 years old with a few $100,000 saved and they're doing their calculations or getting on their savings calculator. Oh, we're going to have 1.2 million. Okay. That's really worth 600 because none of the little simple saving calculators have, or even like Morningstar, which we use to look at, past hypothetical results. None of them have inflation adjustment in there. It's just, well, this is what you'd have. Now, financial planning software has inflation adjustment in there, right? We give the people numbers in 2 numbers, today's dollars. Like we show them the future dollars, but what it's worth in today's dollars.
Yes.
Right? We give them the accurate numbers, but when you look at Morningstar or, hey, bankrate.com and use the savings calculator, nowhere in there says, what's the inflation rate? What's this really worth?
So really here's what I think the bottom line is. You make very valid arguments on you do need robust financial planning software to factor in inflation and all that stuff. I think if you want to simplify things and be good with money and end up becoming independently wealthy at some point, little to no debt and be a good saver for a long time. That's just everyone that has done it has that in common. And when I say a good saver, I'm talking 10, 15, 20. The best savers, they'll do 25, 30% of their income. Now, that's how you get much better result than the average bear. But if you focus on those things, and the other thing I share with people all the time, especially young people, doing the minimum to just get the 401k match. How many times you hear, well, I put in 5 because they'll match me 3 or they'll match me 5. Well, what is stopping you from saving more? Well, they only match this portion. Okay, that's fine. But if you really want to achieve something, you're going to have to ramp it up a little bit.
You're not going to hit your goals just doing the minimum contribution.
No, and there are, and I don't know if this will continue, but if you work for a company that has a pension, you can probably get away with minimum contributions.
Well, yeah, because you're contributing the pension, you just don't know it.
Right.
It's not an option.
And you have pension, Social Security, and you're going to have an investment account. It'll be worth something, but
I mean, that's the trifecta, right? Social Security, pension, you saved in the 401k on your own.
Right.
I mean, that's a home run. It gets me thinking though, do you think due to changes in how people work, so let's just call it work from home, side gig economy, et cetera, do you think it's actually going to change what retirement looks like for people? Do you think more people will start enjoying their money while they're working and saying, you know what, I'll just work 4 or 5 years longer at a side gig because I can work from home. I don't have to necessarily go to the office. I mean, we have a client who just didn't like his job and retired and drives Uber.
I think it will. I think some of that, the landscape is changing. And I do think younger generations right now are valuing their schedule and their flexibility more than making as much income as possible. And with that will be changes, because if you don't ever go into a job where you have the ability to have a high contribution rate and max out accounts, you probably will have to work longer. But let's say you figured out a way to live the life you like and you work 3 days a week. Well, how long could you do that? Depends on the job, right?
Yeah. Well, how laborious is it? I mean,
right. If it's something like driving Uber or working at a tavern, there's plenty of jobs that are not super physically demanding. And I do think there is a transition where there are people who are really more focused on having lifestyle for a longer period of time, as opposed to having a long career and achieving financial goals that way. Either way, it's all the same, though. You're still going to have a plan to execute it correctly.
Yeah, I think of all the ways that you can make money today that just weren't available 20 and 30 years ago. Like Megan and I were talking about this morning, because we usually give our older clothes to Goodwill, right? Like when we get new clothes, take it to Goodwill. Well, we have some pretty nice stuff. So now she started going around to some of the consignment shops and they buy it from her or they sell it. She's like, man, I think somebody could actually make pretty good money doing this. I said, yeah, I actually think if someone just went garage sailing every weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you like, there's a certain amount of people who just want to go to a garage sale and shop and be thrifty. I'll bet somebody could make a really good living doing that full time. It would be hard here where we're located in the upper Midwest where it gets cold and stuff. But in the southern states where it's warm all the time, there's a garage sale every weekend. I'll bet someone could do really, really well.
I know of a family that lives in the South, and the mom, she has a business where she decorates homes for the holiday season. So she works like only the Christmas season and makes an entire year's worth of income.
I just read an article. God, what magazine was that in? It's a gal in Houston and Dallas. She's making $1 million a year decorating porches for Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas.
I think I saw the same article because the person I'm referring to I was thinking about them
Similar
the other
business.
day. Similar business. And then I saw that. And the porches are fantastic. But that's a great business. It's seasonal, and I bet they make a killing.
But think about that. So that's what you do. You're in retirement. Well, to be good at that, you have to already enjoy it.
Right. And how long could
forever.
You could do that well into your 70s.
Into your 70s. And here's the thing. 30 years ago, you still could have done it. But a couple things have changed. One, I think people value that more today. 30 years ago, no one came and put Christmas lights up at your house, right?
And no one was going to pay you to decorate your porch with pumpkins.
Now, because it's all over social media, two things have happened. Well, that's cool. I want that, one. But two, because of social media, they're able to spread the word and get the word out fast as to what they do. I mean, Megan will comment on this stuff. She's like, where do these women come up with this time to like decorate porches like this?
Probably their job.
That's why I said, Megan, they're trying to sell you.
They're running it like a business.
They're running a business is what they're doing. And that's why it looks great. So I just think it's interesting. I think everything changes over time, right? New and inventive. But part of me wonders, will retirement change? Number one, it's getting more expensive. Things are more expensive, so people might work longer. But the way people retire, will it change due to the work from home and the side gig economy and all the other things that are out there?
Yeah, I think so. That will cause changes. Even and we don't need to get into it, but fire movement's going to cause changes in retirement. There's going to be people retiring younger age just
They're
because
in trouble.
It's been, I know, we don't need to get into all
They're
that.
in trouble.
But there's going to be more and more people retiring at a younger age because of stuff like that. There's always going to be changes.
Here's the concern, though, with people that have that side gig thing. They're going to assume they can do it forever. Everybody has a date when you're done. Those people still need a plan for a date of financial independence. They still need to put together a financial plan and say, hey, what's the date I'm going to have enough money to retire, and then just keep doing this as long as I want to, and not because I necessarily have to do it.
True.
Because,
there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, at the end of the day, it'll be exciting to watch it change. I want to thank everybody for watching the show today and listening. If anybody's looking for help getting a financial plan, you can get us at btwellshow.com. You can follow us on social. If you like the content, do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast and to the YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for listening and catch you next time.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal,